Latinos en los Estados Unidos don't care if you're Ricans or even Cubanos. Look at our coaches. We have more in common, don't let them divide. These suckers are vultures. Either we standing together or better be standing aside. Now is the time, don't know about you, but I'm gonna ride. We gotta climb, fight for your veins, man, where was your pride? Where were the gunners that you got inside? Look how our ancestors came to this country. They tried to be living the American dream. Don't throw it away. They promise you money and catch your aging for the machine. Pick a new team, you flesh socialism, but that is a system that you wanna bring. You need to think, we gotta fight communism, cause it look like we on the brink. Connect on the links, a one-party system is taking the power from all of the people. We need to think, when will you listen? These people are evil and won't treat us equal, so what is your plan? Hand in hand, we're standing together, cause it's the one never to do what you can. Please understand, we gotta do better, so walkers remember that we took a stand. Escúchame, 24 es el año, si se puede. Lucha, lucha por la libertad. Órale, vamos.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Latino Free Minds. We're here, I believe this is episode number 80. I forgot to check the number, but I think we're at 80. I'm here with my co-host Christian, and on this episode we have what we call Know Your Candidate. So this one's a little different because we have 3 candidates. So and they're all from Redlands, candidates for school board down there. So we have Lawrence, Jeanette, and Candy. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for also doing what you're doing, right? It's not easy to run, especially in the kind of climate we live in today, and especially for what you guys are trying to get in there for. So we'll kind of go down the line. Lawrence, tell the people a little about yourself and your campaign.
Well, in terms of my background, I've got a business background. I've spent some time in the military, United States Marine Corps in particular. And I spent 23 years in the classroom, both at public and private schools. So I've got some experience on both sides of that. I've never run for office before. I've helped lots of other people run, but I've never run before. But I got a call from somebody I respect a great deal about a year ago. Said there's some serious problems in the Redlands School District. They noticed that I happened to live in one of the areas that was up for vote this year and asked me to consider running. So I did, and obviously the consideration was yes to do it. So that's what brought me here.
Okay, that's good. And Jeanette?
Yeah, well, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I retired in 2020 and started attending school board meetings because I've worked with families and children my whole career, and I heard some of the concerns that were going on. And at the school board meetings, I felt that we would speak up and really weren't being heard, and our concerns really weren't being treated as something they were going to even really listen to or take any interest in. And so the seat became open. You know, it's only every 4 years for each area. And so when it became time that someone needed to step up and run, no one was stepping up. And so I made a deal with God that if no one stood up by January 1st, I would go ahead and run. And of course that happened. No one else stood up. So here I am.
That's good. That's good. Candy, how about yourself?
Yeah, pretty similar story to Jeanette. I'm a nurse. That's my career. And I work in high acuity areas of a trauma center, which is the ER and the ICU. And so that's what I do for my main job. And I've got 5 kids who I love very much. Family is family, God. Those are my important things that I value. And, you know, back in the masking days of our kids, I had this friend, Jared, who kept telling me, Candy, you got to go to those school board meetings. You got to come on. And then he'd say, get me some studies about masks and the harms that they're causing to children, because we all know they're harming our kids. And so I want to talk about it, he would say at the school board meeting, get me some data, some information, and trying to get me to come to one. Finally, I said, okay, fine, I'll come. And then it's like watching a bad accident ever since. The first one I went to, it was like I couldn't believe these people were running our schools, and it just got worse and worse. The topics, evolved from this to that, and as you discover, it's just like a lot of things actually. The more you learn about what's happening, the more horrified you become. It was like a bad dream for 3 years. So it's been 4 years now, but same thing about running. I'm the director of a group, Awaken Redlands, that put into place, Jeanette and Lawrence are also part of that group, but we put into place specifically, our mission is to put into place traditional people in our city with traditional leaders. So in our city council and our school board. So we're like acutely focused on those missions, is to preserve our city. And so that's our role. And I also wanted to stay more of like in the background and help direct the different campaigns, but no one stood up in my area. And since I live in one of the areas up for election, someone has to do it. So that's what I did, just same as Jeanette. So we've been out here. I've been canvassing for 9 months now, talking to people, and it's a humbling experience. It's really beautiful to meet all of the people in our neighborhood. I mean, there's been some bad experiences too, of course, but overall, it's been very positive.
No, that's good. That's good. Were you gonna say something, Chris?
Well, yeah, Daniel. Well, what'd you say? This is around episode 80, right? So it's just crazy to hear, how many candidates we've had, in that time span, and it's, the calling. Somebody had to heed the call, and most of the time when they explain it, what made you want to move, it's, well, I was retired, I had, or I had my family, or they had, kind of how they say, better things to do, right?
Right.
But when there's nobody stepping up, it's you guys that make the sacrifice and heed that call, and thank God for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And kind of piggybacking off of what Christian said there, it's, once you guys get the calling and you stand up, that's much respect to you, because again, as you guys kind of noticed there, right, and you having to step up, nobody else did. And it's something that we live in a country, in a state where obviously there's going to be different beliefs, different points of views, and some people believe certain things, some others don't. That's kind of what makes America, right? And there's a certain line where you can't cross, and now you're alienating people, or you're making people do things that go against their beliefs. So I guess my question to each of you is, right now, currently in the Redlands Unified School District, what are some of the failures that you guys are seeing there, that you see that, okay, when I get in there, I need to address this, because obviously we're talking school board, we're talking about affecting the kids, which is the future. So we could start with Lawrence again, and we'll go from there. But what do you see as the biggest failure in Redlands Unified?
It's almost hard to pick the biggest one. There are so many significant ones.
Right.
But one of the ones I think that's the most troubling, and also pretty well known among the people, is the problem of sexual abuse of our students, as well as the administration's actions to cover it up. I mean, I've been going around canvassing, knocking on doors, ringing doorbells since last November. Had lots of conversations, and this is the topic that comes up more than any other, and I don't have to introduce it. People know that there's a problem here. And I was just a few days ago, I went to a door, I was talking to a lady in the Loma Linda area, and she brought it up to me. She says, I hope you're going to do something. I know people in the school district, and they tell me what a big problem we have with pedophiles. And this is the case. I mean, unfortunately, the Redlands School District is practically the poster child for sexual abuse of kids. There was a CBS Reports issue on this several months ago, about a year ago or so, and they looked at the problem nationwide, but the school district they singled out as an example of one that has a really poor record was Redlands. So here it is, our home area, and they have a horrible problem with this sexual abuse, and not only that it's taking place, but that the school is covering it up. So this to me is one of the biggest things. You know, it's hard enough for get the kids to go to school and get a good education so they can build for their future, but they should not have to worry about being preyed upon by the very teachers they're working with and the administrators who cover them up. I mean, this is a horrible situation, and there are lots of other things that need to be addressed. But this one just really sets a fire inside of me, and we need to let everybody know this is stopping right now.
Yeah, I mean, as a parent, yeah, it's stuff like that. You definitely want to be informed, right? So, wow, it's crazy to hear. Wow, Jeanette.
Well, I, of course, agree with Lawrence. There also has been the school district's been under investigation in one facet or another for years. They've paid out $45.5 million in losses to victims. And like he said, this has been going on for years, and it's finally culminated to now a state investigation happened with the Department of Education, and the school district failed and is on a 5-year sort of like probationary status. And the federal government did an investigation on how the district is handling Title IX sexual harassment situations, and they really failed on that as well. And the bottom line is they sweep it under the rug. They don't document the situation. They don't have parents. They don't require that they document a complaint. And so nothing really gets done about it. And it's not just that, there's a lot of things parents want to be heard about, and the school board is just very blank when it comes to anything that I guess you'd say traditional or conservative people might be concerned about. And they, for example, the ideological issues in the classrooms, we asked that there just be an American flag, and it's not even easy to get something on the agenda, but we got it on the agenda, just the American flag and not the different, ideological flags. And they just didn't, they voted that they want to keep it all in there. So pretty much every concern we brought up, they've shown or even voted that they are going to keep things the way they are, the status quo. And we believe, that there is hope to make some great changes if we could, make some changes on the actual board.
Mm-hmm. And Candy, how about you?
Yes, those obviously I agree with Lawrence and Jeanette too, that sexual abuse, pretty much our entire community is well aware of that being almost the number one problem in our community. And it's really, really quite a shame that this has happened, because I was just looking actually through the judgment from June 10, 24. It's really a long read, but there's a couple things that are absolutely, it's going to make our job absolutely ridiculously hard, because they, in part of the agreement with the Office of the Attorney General of California, revisions to board policies and administrative regulations will be directed by the Assistant Superintendent of Compliance and approved by the Office of Attorney General. Same with the implementation of policies, procedures, and protocols. So basically, they have their hands so deep in our district, it's like mesh. Like, we're not going to be doing a single thing without their approval, because of Redlands' previous failures that are so bad. So because they failed our kids so grossly in so many different areas, now we have these guidelines that we have to go by for the next 5 years, and this one is going to kill you. I missed this the first time I skimmed through it. Of course, I was skimmed really quickly, but the Redlands district will have a climate survey, an advisory committee made up of a minimum of 3 parents and 2 students. The committee will review the surveys and assess how well the improvements are addressing concerns about sexual abuse and reporting in the district. So the climate survey committee is going to address concerns about the sexual abuse and reporting in the district. Does that make sense to anybody? It's like, this is clown show here. So it's a really quite a shame that they screwed up so badly that now we have to be completely arm linked with the state and with the federal government. But along with everything that they mentioned, what Jeanette also mentioned with the ideological concerns, we also have a lot of pornographic material and just obscene literature in not a lot, I wouldn't say a lot, a few books in the high schools that many parents, most parents at least I've spoken to, are not okay with their kids reading and had no idea that they even existed or what the titles of these books are. We filed challenges and book challenge processes, and the Redlands district doesn't remove them. They want to keep them. So there has to be some type of process, either create a new book challenge process, or have the parents actually opt in instead of how it is right now. You're welcome to opt out of your child reading certain books, but parents, again, they have no idea what's in there. I have literally not met a single parent on the campaign trail that knows about the books that are in the library. And once they do and they read them on my website, they're horrified. They can't believe it. They can't believe they don't need an ID to read those books. That's seriously how gross they are. So something where, maybe the parents are given a list at the beginning of the school year. If you agree with your child reading this, sign it, something like that. I would be agreeable to that type of process as well. And medical freedom, obviously, if there's another pandemic, I'm a huge advocate for, I would very much support freedom from masking and new vaccines. Another issue is parent secrecy. So they have already parent secrecy policies in place in Redlands. For example, the child can change their name and their gender in Aries portal without the parent knowing, and there's specific instructions in the district to not tell the parent. Also, on their gender transition guides, they have the option for the child to notify parents or not notify parents. So parent secrecy is huge on I'm totally against that. And so are Lawrence and Jeanette, which is great because we're all on the same page. Parents are in charge of their children at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of what I was referring to earlier. It's like there's a line, right? And for a lot of people, it is their kids. And
Right.
we've talked about it many times before, how, you hear people from, agencies, government even, they'll refer to the kids as our kids.
Right.
That's the government telling you these are our kids. And it's like, well, no, they're not. We have them, we raise them, we take care of them, we provide for them. So they're not yours. They, those kids are mine. And I think for a lot of people, once you kind of cross that line where you're affecting their kid and, whatever ideology or whatever it is that you're trying to do without the parent knowing, I think, I don't know, me growing up, anytime there was an adult that was keeping secrets with a kid, that was considered weird. That was like, hey, red flag. So, nowadays it's the nice thing to do, or whatever they want to call it, right? So it's kind of, it makes no sense to me. And I'm glad that you three are running. Our friend Art from Luca is the one that kind of helped set this one up. And
Yeah.
He really believes that you three have a good shot at flipping that school board around, right? And kind of the other thing we talk about here too is people showing up to vote. When you guys do canvass, or whether it's on the phone, knock on doors and all that, what kind of response are you guys getting from the parents? Because that they're probably the one, obviously they're the ones that are going to go vote and decide, but what kind of feedback do you guys get from them? We can start with Lawrence.
Actually, most of it has been very good. In fact, the few negative ones I had were months ago. I haven't had any negative things for the last probably 5 or 6 months. So that's pretty encouraging. Um, the few, as regards voting, every now and then I'll get somebody who says, well, I don't have any kids. I said, but you can still vote. And what happens in the schools affects all of us, and it's important to all of us. So we need to get out there and vote. But for the most part, the interactions have been very positive, very supportive. And every now and then you get somebody that's not, and usually they're quite negative. They'll slam the door in your face and raise their voice and get kind of hysterical. So, but there haven't been too many of those. They give you some interesting war stories to tell. Years from now, we can all get together and say, well, remember back in 24? And yeah, I ran into this person who, anyway, we're going to have a few war stories.
Yeah.
Well, I've had a pretty good experience too. I mean, run into a few people that have argued our points, but very few. My concern is that people, they really have to get out and vote. And the statistics on that here in Southern California are not great. Also, the school district is actually 53% Hispanic. And so we really need that population to also like get registered to vote, get out and vote. I would say they are a little less informed when I've been out canvassing about what's going on. It doesn't take much information to, of course, win them over. But they're probably a little bit less informed and are, excited to hear the information. So we just hope and pray that everybody will get out and vote.
Yeah, the Hispanic community is really, really instrumental and important because 9 times out of 10, they agree. Every time I've met somebody that I'm knocking on the doors with that is Hispanic, I've never had one disagree or say no. I don't think that. They in large have the same values that I do. They share the same concerns. They're totally on the same same playing field. Traditional values. People just want their kids to get an education in school, and they're just really tired of all this extra stuff. So it's, the voter turnout we saw, in Temecula for the recall of Dr. Komrosky, that was really, really a sad situation because the turnout was terrible. And they got mail out ballots too. I'm not sure. I mean, how do you even explain that? That's like pathetic that you couldn't just take the time, and it's just one thing, yes, no, right? But there was like 7,000 or so that didn't vote, which is very, very discouraging. I think that Redlands do vote, though. The Redlands population, they have a strong voting record, especially more towards the inner core of Redlands. But we gotta just get people to get out there, and the young ones to get registered too. But my experience canvassing has been the same as Jeanette's and Lawrence's. I've only had a couple very bad interactions, and like Lawrence said, they're extremely bad. It's not just like a little bad, right? So the regular people in this life can talk about issues, and you can have a nice, respectful conversation. Even if you disagree slightly on some things, but the ones that are on the radicals on the far left, the progressives, they are just angry. They hate you they haven't even met you. My worst experience was when I was with my small child and our dog out canvassing, and I've got my little girl with me, and I just rang the doorbell and stepped back waiting for them to answer. And then he comes screaming out at me with his finger right in my face. F this, F you, get the F off my property, screaming. And I was like stumbling backwards. I was just like, I hadn't even said my name. I hadn't said anything. but the hatred and the vitriol, these people are filled with hate. And I'm sure he knew me from Instagram or, something like that. We have a left radical group here in Redlands that does a lot of publicity about us, which is sometimes it actually works to our advantage. But yeah, so mostly good responses overall, but just here and there, and haven't had a bad one in a while either. So here and there negative, but it's not often, which is great. Gives us a lot of hope and encouragement that most people are on the same page.
If I could add another thing about the voting that I've really become more and more acutely aware of is it's not just Redlands. Our school district covers Redlands, Mentone, Forest Falls, a large part of Highland, a little bit of San Bernardino, a chunk of Loma Linda. So there's little bit different culture and interests and so forth in the different towns. So that's kind of a challenge for us as well.
So, I mean, it sounds like this isn't just an isolated thing going on in Redlands, right? Do you think it's something that's, it's possible that this is going on throughout the country, behind the parents' backs? Because I just keep thinking of, ignorance is bliss, right? You don't know anything until you start poking your nose, until you start getting in, until you find out that there's books of, teaching the kids how to masturbate. You find these things out when it's too late. You find out your kid isn't the name you gave him anymore, right? When it's too late. Do you think it's possible that this is happening in different levels across the country?
Oh yeah, it's happening everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
I think most definitely, and I think an indication of this, a related issue obviously is the parental notification. That's one of the hot topics and where I've had some of the most negative responses. And the idea is that whether or not we should inform parents about their children if they're talking about changing their name, changing their pronouns, changing their bathroom, changing their team, changing their body. And there's this idea that, well, no, we should not do that. I mean, among some people, it just seems strange. Management requires sufficient, timely, accurate information. You can't do a good job managing without information that's in time, that's accurate, and you have enough of it. And probably the most important job of management on earth is that of being a parent. You've got to give parents all the information you possibly can. And for the most part, we do. Now, there's two really suspicious things about this movement about keeping parents in the dark when it comes to the transitioning issue. One is I've heard that argument a lot, but something I've never heard is anybody giving any statistics to back it up. No one's ever said that, well, FBI crime statistics from 2016 to 2022 indicates there were so many thousand cases of criminal abuse of children by parents when they found out their kid was talking about transitioning or changing their pronouns. Or the certain percentage of the seizures by Child Protective Services was based on this. You don't hear any of that. So how big a problem is this? I mean, I acknowledge that there's some parents that don't do a very good job and they can fly off the handle and become physically abusive with bad news. But how big a problem is it? Is it 1 in 10 or 1 in 10 million? We need to know that, and nobody has that. But something that's really strange here is this. There are many other areas where schools are required to inform parents about bad news. They're required to tell the parents if their kids aren't showing up for school, if they have a truancy problem. We're required to tell parents if their kids are failing. We're required to tell parents if they bring a weapon or illegal drugs or something like that. And yet that kind of bad news could also prompt a hostile physical reaction, an abusive reaction. So how come this is the one and only case where we have to shut up and not tell parents?
True.
There's something else going on here. There's something else going on, and I think it's very sinister. When you pull the sheets back and take a look at this, it's going to be very, very sinister.
And it sounds, reasonable enough to ask for the facts, right? And when I go back and I think of, Kamala just announced her running mate, and you hear one of the things that he was in charge of or responsible for was putting tampons in the boys' bathroom, right? So it's like, what kind of information is he requesting if he's using any data at all, or what it, and is it one of the things that we need to be attacking first and foremost? How about the testing? How about the results that we're getting? Are these kids are reading uh, at the correct level?
No.
I've worked in a school. I was the campus relations first for kindergarten through 8th grade, right? And I know 8th graders that are reading at the 1st grade level, right? But I see the teachers, they're flying them out to Hawaii for a week or two, and they're having a ball. But when we come back, I mean, the kids are in the same place, and they're the ones suffering, right? We're building gymnasiums, we're building pools, we're building the infrastructure, real shiny stuff, right? But it's the way I see it is you can have a nice Ferrari, right? The creme de la creme car. But if the driver in there doesn't know how to drive stick and he's grinding those gears, he's going to drive that car and break everything inside, right? We have these gyms, but the staff, what about the teachers? Are they qualified to be talking to our kids? Um, Again, behind my back, are they prescribing my kids, ADD medicine? Are they doctors? And I'm hitting all these points, but it's everywhere, and all these things are going behind the backs of the parents. That's
Well, there's a
the
real,
scary note.
go ahead. Sorry, go
Go.
ahead. Well, there's a real push for those type of health care, all inclusive, all comprehensive health cares for the school campuses. They have them out in LA, and the parents are not happy out there. They're really upset about it. There's been a lot of rallies and things against that, and they've actually started doing it in the Inland Empire. There's a couple schools now, not in Redlands Unified, but there was just approved to have it's like a pre-K comprehensive health center. And this just opens the door because it's going to be the full range, everything you can get at your pediatrician's office right on the school campus. And so then as that, obviously a pre-K is going to have their parent with them, right? So no problem. It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't have the doctor's office combined at the school campus. That makes no sense. It's not a joint thing, but as this program is sure to expand, I'm sure they have every intention of expanding it all the way up. You'll have kids in 5th grade, 6th grade getting shots, vaccines, different medications. And in the state of California, over 12 years old, they don't need a parent's consent. You can have an abortion without your parent's consent. So these healthcare centers are extremely dangerous. Hormone therapy, anything they want, they can have over 12. And so if you've got a doctor's office right there ready to give it to you without your parents' consent, it's just the perfect setting. It's perfect setup for the storm. And what keeps the kids from doing that right now, largely, is because they can't drive. And so until they're 16, at least the parents have typically that range of time, because they can't get to the doctor's office or the clinic on their own and go get the procedures or the medications, right? And also the school has implemented some very dangerous curriculum, SEL, social emotional learning, that sounds very good on the surface of it. And a lot of teachers love it and think it's great because you can handle your big bad emotions. But actually, when I looked at the statistics, I requested from our superintendent, violence has only increased since this curriculum has been put into place. And in addition, it is counseling for everyone. Everyone has to undergo counseling, all the kids, including kindergartners. So they have a certain number of hours and minutes of counseling per week that's required, and it gets more as you increase in the grade. In addition, counseling services in private don't require parent consent over 12 years old. So what a situation you put your child in, and especially if you have a comprehensive medical clinic right there on campus.
And that's diabolical. That's just diabolical because who's
Yeah.
giving this counseling? Why
Right.
do I need counseling? Right? Why do I
Right.
need somebody
Mhm.
spewing this type of bad news into my head, trying to figure out why I got all these ticks on me and who am I really mad at? Right? And they kind
Right.
of force you to start thinking a certain way and woe is
Mhm.
me, I am, and like you said, when you think you're the victim or when you feel you're the victim, you're backed up into a corner, you're gonna fight.
Mhm.
And that's where that violence is coming from.
Mhm.
They think it's, fight or flight. There's no in between of talking anything out. Like you're knocking on the door and the guy's got his finger in your face. And if he were to just spend some time and listen to you, it's you're trying to save these kids. You're
Mm-hmm.
trying to save these kids. You're not going in there to make any monetary profit, right? It's to save
Mhm.
these kids.
Mhm.
Well, and
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy.
I think one thing that's very sad too is how gullible some of the parents are, and you know they don't know what's being put in front of them. I could see parents even signing away that their kids could see the doctor without them being there because
Yep.
they
Mhm.
still have that trust in doctors, or
Mhm.
signing even when they're younger that they see a counselor. I guess they're seeing counselors without even coming as little kids to sign, but parents are just so trusting still
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
don't really know the depth of the problems that we keep uncovering, the getting closer to the core of the onion. And they just don't understand how it is slowly creeping in and taking away their rights as parents. And it's very scary. It's a sad, serious situation.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Were you gonna say something,
Yeah, there's a
Lawrence?
lot of really bad stuff going on, and a lot of people talk about, hey, this is crazy. How does this make any sense? I actually believe that everything makes sense. Even
Yeah.
that crazy guy pushing his shopping cart down the street filled with trash, wearing 8 layers of clothes when it's 110 degrees out while he's doing his dance and shouting at the devil, that makes sense to
That
him.
makes sense. You're right.
So if you could get inside his head, you would say, oh, that's why you're doing that. Well, this actually is a pretty powerful analytical tool because you take a conclusion, some policy, and then kind of reverse engineer it, go backwards. From what perspective does this make sense? And when you look at a lot of the things the state and the school boards are doing regarding our kids and the families, the only thing I can see that makes sense is they're trying to get control of the kids. They're taking it away from the parents. And I know all
Mhm.
three of us here are very, very opposed to that. I mean, this is the proverbial hill we'll die on. These
Mhm.
are God's children, and
Mhm.
God put the parents in charge of raising them. The parents are their primary agent, not the schools, not the administrators, not the government, not the governor. The
Mm-hmm.
job of the schools is to assist the parents, not to resist them, and certainly not to replace them. But that's how this has been so twisted around. And if you look, who has done this in the past? Where do you see this over and over again where there's this push to get control of the kids' education? You always find it among the tyrants, the
Mhm.
communists, the fascists, the Nazis. They always want to control the kids because they know if you can control the kids' education today, you can control what happens in the government and in the state tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And then kind of to what Jeanette was saying, it's like a lot of parents do kind of trust the school system, right? They trust that uh, they're sending their kids to school, they're getting educated, and for the most part, when a lot of us went to school, it wasn't it wasn't like this. Even when we went to school, right? You were just getting your regular science, math, PE, just your regular subjects that you got, from elementary to middle school to high school. And along those lines, it's gotten so out of hand, and I think people are used to, like, okay, when I went to school, that's what you know that's my experience. And I think a lot of parents still think it's the same. They're gonna go get some math, some PE, some science, history, and all that, and they trust that the school is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then there's a lot of, like, as far as the Latino side, there's a lot of kids that are first generation, American citizens here going to school that maybe their parents didn't go to the public school system. And kind of like what Christian was saying, it's like ignorance is bliss. They don't know. They don't know something's wrong, right? And when you don't know something's wrong, how are you supposed to ask the question or even look into it? You just assume, I'm going to work, my kids are going to school, they're teaching them there. I'm doing my job so I can provide. And, unfortunately those questions don't get asked. And maybe sometimes when the kids get home from school, the parents get home from work, everyone's tired, right? The kids are doing all kinds of homework. The parent probably has to make a meal or is just maybe exhausted from work, and then they don't have that conversation. The what'd you learn in school today? What'd they talk about? Was there anything that maybe didn't make sense to you? And they're not having the conversations with their kids, and that's where what Lawrence was saying is in the future, then that's where they split, because now your kid believes something way different than what you thought you were raising them as. So, I think that's part of what we try to do with speaking to candidates, or just kind of the content that we do. Is one of the main messages that we tried to share to everybody is what we say is know your kid, right? And that's exactly kind of where we got that from our other host, Danny. What he would do when his kids got home from school, they're a little older now, he would ask them exactly what I said. It's, what'd you learn today? What'd you think about that? And kind of in a sense, I guess he was deprogramming them, right? And they have those conversations. So as his kids got older, they weren't just influenced by what the teacher was telling them. They were taught to think critically, so to speak. So that's why we say know your kids. And then the other thing we say is for a parent to be the biggest influence in their kid's life, so that, even if you do have to send them to a public school, because, not everybody can homeschool, not everybody can do all that. You have to, you got no other choice. That's where as a parent, you can't just, hey, the school's going to do it. It's like, no, you have to step up and, be the biggest influence in your kid's life, so that when that kid does get older, you instilled, the values that you wanted into your kid, and there's not going to be that break or that separation that a lot of all this stuff that they're putting into place in the future is going to lead to all that. So, I know I kind of said a lot, but it was kind of, what Janet said, and then what Lauren said, that, I think do go together.
Well, you're talking about influence, just a quick indication of that. We have to be very careful about who is influencing our children. We have to keep a close eye on teachers. They have an incredible amount of power. And this happened in my own personal experience. I remember many, many years ago, one morning in the classroom, school hadn't started yet, but some parents came in a little early with their daughter. And they said, and I don't even remember what the issue was, but they said, Mr. Hebron, would you please tell our daughter that such and so is true? She won't believe us, but she'll believe you. A lot of times the teachers come across as the authority.
Right.
Well, they're supposed to know it all as a kid.
The teacher, yeah. So if the teachers are taking advantage of this opportunity to project their ideology, and oftentimes it's a bad ideology, that is a very, very powerful influence. And I think also later in life, I think that's why there's been such a strong push to get kids into college. A lot of times the college education really doesn't prepare you for life. You can do a lot better for going to a trade school. But if you extend the school, the time the kids spend in school, you extend the time that the teachers can influence them. And I think that's a big deal of what's going on here.
Right.
And I think it's a lot of it has to do with stepping away from teaching the basic curriculum, reading, writing, math. Now when these counselors are talking to the kid, they let them know that, you only want to be ruled or governed by people that look like you, right? And as I look at you three, right, to be blunt, right, it's 3 white people, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we heard
I
about that
can't
when we made the
imagine you
post.
guys,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
I
we're
can't
too
I can't
white.
imagine you guys saying, because for me, when I talk about who would I want for my kid, the best teacher, the best
Mm-hmm.
teacher,
Mhm.
the best doctor for myself, the best everything, right? That doesn't mean necessarily that they're gonna look like me, right?
Mhm.
I just want the best.
Mm-hmm.
And if the best is, a million miles away, that's what I want. And when I see you three, I can't imagine you, you know, being on the opposite end, right? I
Mhm.
imagine the students that go to the school are maybe, heavy in minorities, right? And you say, no, why need the students to look exactly like me in order for me to help them,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
That's just
that's
not gonna
just
fly,
Heaven
typical.
forbid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just
right?
identity politics, and that's their favorite game to play, and it makes no sense. I would have loved it if a minority had stepped up in my area, and I could be spending time with my family right now. I wouldn't be out in this 104-degree heat knocking on doors, out all winter in the rain knocking on doors. I would have loved it if someone would have stepped up, but no one did. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you get the whitey, right? So it's whoever. We actually have a city council candidate who stepped up, who's a minority, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make it any different. It's just who stepped up, right? It's the person who steps up with the right values. And we do have a large percentage of Hispanic children in the district. But in the area where I live, I think there's a large percentage of Caucasians. A lot of us are white. I mean, it is what it is. So I think the chances you're going to get a white candidate is higher because we
Mm-hmm.
live in that area. I
And
love
and the thing
diversity,
too,
but you can't force it.
no, no. And the thing too, which is like those same people that point out that you're white and this and that.
Right. Hmm.
If you would have been a Latina saying the exact same things, you're not
Right.
saying what they want to hear, and they'll still call
Right.
you something.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
so it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with in reality,
No.
those people when they point out race or whatnot, that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. It's just what you're saying. It doesn't matter if it
Yeah.
It's
was
They
me.
don't.
always
Right.
If it was me
Hmm.
running in your area, it'd
Hmm.
be I'd get the same hate. That's just
All
the
right.
truth.
Yeah.
I
They
think the
just
reaction here
they're
too
just full
for
of hatred.
I think especially among us, we don't see Hispanic children, black children, Asian children,
Mm-mm.
white children. We see God's children,
Hmm.
and that
That's
makes
right.
them precious.
Mm-hmm.
That means we have to do everything we possibly can because these are God's kids.
amen.
I don't care what household, what religion, or anything else. These are God's kids, and we have an obligation to give them the very best we can because He's watching. And I don't want to have to answer someday that I didn't do everything I could to take care of His kids. And that's how we see it. So all of these other charges about race, religion, everything else, no, we are committed to those children and doing the very best we can to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
God,
amen. That's the truth.
amen.
Hmm.
No, I mean, and again, it's you know, you guys stepped up. You guys are trying to do what you feel is right, and like I said at the beginning, not everybody's gonna agree, but
Hmm.
you can always have that respect, right? You can always agree to disagree, so to say.
Hmm.
But I
I,
think
I
that.
think
uh
oh, I was going to say, I think it's interesting too that some of the people against us want to use the fact that we're not, like them. We don't have the same beliefs.
mhm,
And it doesn't matter. We've all worked our whole careers with a wide range of people and
Hmm.
religions and ethnicity and
Hmm.
cultures and doing what is best for them,
mhm,
period.
yeah,
So it just is a tactic they use to try to get you unnerved and thinking, oh, maybe I am not cut out for this. No, we're all the same on the inside, and us three candidates do agree on the goal and the focus is to do what's best for the children and to let the parents be involved in their own children's lives.
mhm, yeah. And as a parent, that's exactly what I would want.
Well, and go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was done. I was saying that's exactly what I would
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Well, they frequently say that we try to force our beliefs on others, and that we want to force our
Okay.
beliefs on the kids, and it's funny because it's just like the complete opposite. We want to remove beliefs being forced on children and families. Like, for example, masking. You want to mask your child and send them to school with a mask, that's your choice, right? I won't mask my children, but that doesn't mean that I think that we have to force you to, right? Or you to not do it. Um, Having people like us in charge would be not forcing anyone's beliefs and having the parents be able to make the decisions about all of the things regarding their kids. They can decide about the books to read. They can decide at home if they want to have them be a transgender or whatever type of, different pronouns they use or whatnot. I wanted to say something else, but oh, yeah. As a nurse, I've taken care of tons of, throughout my career, I've taken care of many gay people, transsexual people, people of, like Jeanette said, different cultures, races, religions, everybody. I have never once treated anyone differently. They are all God's children. All of us are. So there is no reason for me to be, I have nothing against trans children that think that they have been born in the wrong body, have gender dysphoria. I don't believe they were born in the wrong body, but I have nothing against them. I think they need help. I think they need their parents' involvement. And I think that they need true counseling to actually get them work through the issues that they're suffering from, not affirmative counseling where it says, yes, you were born in the wrong body. No, you're supposed to be a different gender. I don't believe in affirming the wrong body for a child, but parents are allowed to do that for their kids if they want to, if they so choose. But, as people, they like to say that we're very intolerant and this and that, when like it couldn't be farther from the truth. You'll never find a patient of mine in 24 years of being a nurse. You'll never find anyone that said I treated them poorly or differently because of the way they were, because had different values, right? So it's just their talking points. I think because they have nothing better to, they're going to have to say something, right? So this is what they come up with.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking to say right now. They'll have nothing else to fall back on, so
Right.
it's just name calling, and hopefully they get some people upset and people fall for it, and that's all they want, right? But anybody that would even suggest you guys, because you're white or whatever, right? Because I did see it in the comments, right, when we made the post.
Right.
And it's funny because most of the times when we get the most hate on post is when we interview people that are either school board candidates or in a school board. So that's kind of weird how the people that get so angry, say all these mean things, are the ones that saying you're wrong for wanting to maybe calm that down at school. It's kind of weird, but that's
It's
when
a
we get
war
all the hate
against the
comments.
children.
Yep.
The society is at war, and it's a fight over our children. It is truly a war out against our children from the state and all of the special interest groups. So you saw that with AB 1955. All of the special interest groups, the unions and the lobbyists were on one side, the parents and everybody else were on the other side. This is truly a war from the state trying to take control over our children. That's why it's so heated with the school board races, more so than city council or even on up,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you mean parents or terrorists? How they labeled them,
Yeah, right.
But no, overall, what I see what you, the three of you, are trying to do is simply, like you said, you're not trying to force anything on anybody. What I would, the best way I could describe it is you guys are just trying to restore balance, because it's gone way too much on one side, and they're getting real out of hand. Not kind of, they are getting out of hand with it, and I think that's what you guys want to do. So we're coming up close to the hour, so I just kind of, for the three, and it kind of goes fast, huh? What message do you have for your potential voters for each of you that, you know, would get them to vote for you, or kind of convince them, or hey, if you didn't know this, this is why I'm running. We'll get start with Lawrence and Jeanette, and then
As far
Ken.
as I'm concerned, it's all about the kids. You do what's best for the kids, and that means that you work in a collaborative way with the parents. The parents, as I said, are God's agents for raising these children, and our job is to assist, not to resist the parents, and certainly not to replace the parents. And it's all about the best we can do for the kids. And sometimes that means no. Sometimes you have to say no. So.
Mm-hmm. Jeanette.
Well, as you can see, we all are on a very similar belief platform. I guess what I would say, because it's very crucial to the parents, is I would focus on the safety issues and putting a big wall where sexual abuse cannot be swept under the rug any longer, and that we will ensure that the reporting laws are followed, and that staff are not just passed on to another school district. That's just so wrong.
Okay.
And same thing. Same points as Jeanette and Lawrence made. Absolutely, parents' rights to know all things about their children. I'm for the rights of all parents, which is a shocker to the other side. All parents. I respect the rights of every parent, including the parents I disagree with. As a nurse, I think I bring the extra dimension of being able to stand very strong against any type of new pandemic restrictions. I will absolutely never agree to new vaccinations for our children. I will stand very strong against that. I've seen what has happened in the recent past, and it is not good. We need to have medical freedom, or we don't have anything. So the parents' rights really it covers basically a lot of the aspects that we're having trouble with in the school, and the other ideological issues too. Parents need to know what's going on, be informed. And God has blessed my campaign. I need to mention that because it's very strange. Since the beginning, it has just gone off without a hitch, basically, in a very unnaturally smooth way. All the pieces have just fallen in together like it was meant to be, and it reassures me all the time that this is what I was supposed to do. And I think the same is true for Lawrence and Jeanette too. So I'm thinking we can do some really good things.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Christian?
Sounds like these are the best candidates.
Thank
I know,
you.
right? Hopefully, people in Redlands get to hear you and watch this, and I think from what I got, I've never spoken to any of you. This is the first time I've ever met any of you, so that's kind of why I like doing these, because meeting candidates and talking to candidates for the first time, you get to see what they're all about, right? And and I say this sincerely, the three of you seem like you're genuine, that you want to do the right thing. You felt a calling and you stepped up. No one else would, and there you were, and that takes a lot. It takes a lot. As you can see, nobody, like I said before, nobody else stepped up, right? It takes a lot. Not everybody wants to do this, but what I do hope that people, the parents in Redlands, see is that there's three things that I got out of this that you guys want to bring. One, I said, it was balance, accountability. When something goes wrong, hold people accountable, and transparency. None of the keeping parents, in the dark. So as a parent, like I said, if I were to, if I have to homeschool. Right now I don't trust public school for obvious reasons. So I chose to homeschool. But if I did send my kids to a public school, that's what I would want. I would want balance, accountability, and transparency. And from talking to you guys, that's what I got out of you three. So I respect you for doing what you're doing, and you know, it's good to see. I had asked, you know, what kind of interactions do you have when you canvas and all that, and you guys said most of it is positive. And the reason I asked that is because yeah, the comments can get a little a little interesting, right? But you know, social media isn't always reality.
Right.
And when you
Right.
guys are knocking on doors and you're able to talk to people and share something with them they might have not known, you know, that's what matters most. So I'm glad to hear that, you know, more often than not, you guys are having great interaction with your potential voters. That's awesome. Cool. All right then.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you guys
Thank you.
for coming on. And like I said, you know, Art had he has high hopes. You guys are gonna. He thinks you guys can do it.
Yes.
And you know, he's a pretty good dude. He's a smart guy, and if he believes in you guys and he sees that, I think it'll happen too.
Well,
So
he's
Thank
been
you.
very helpful to all of us. So
yeah,
we
Yes.
appreciate
yeah, Art's
Yeah.
been amazing with us too.
It,
Yeah.
But
we have to promise you all be back. You'll be
yeah,
back
All
on
right.
Latino Free. Then
Yeah,
you're
when we
always welcome
win.
back.
right
yeah,
after the
exactly.
victory party. How about
Yeah,
that?
we'll do
Yes.
that. Let's go.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so
All
much.
right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
All right.
God bless.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good night.
You too.
Have a good night.
Cool. That was good. They're great people. I mean, if you know, because like I had brought it up on the comments, you know, people were pointing out their race and all that, which I think is stupid. Um, but you know, they're on a podcast called Latino Free Minds. Like, you know, it's already like your argument on the post is already destroyed. But you know, like we said with many other candidates that we've talked to, and like I said it when they were on, is you know, you gotta be genuine, and I felt that from them. You know, I felt that they see something that's going wrong in their school district, their school board, and you know they want to go in and do their part, and you can't do nothing but nothing else but respect that, and you know, support people that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there you go. I just got a heart attack. Don't give me that, white doctor. I need you to find me a Cambodian pregnant lady off 29th and 3rd in New York, and we're good. Then we can get operate. Get out of here, man. You guys are sour. You guys are weak. You guys are losers. Get out of here. Get out of here. We just want the best. And these three candidates, they were the best.
Mm-hmm.
They sounded reasonable, if not
Yeah.
the best, reasonable. You know,
Yeah.
and you're talking about comparing that to, can we please have tampons in the boys? Get the fuck, you know, get out of here. Can we have a kid litter in the bathroom so because I'm a lion? Get out of here. Get out of here. That's when you don't get the best. That's when you just get a random person that did 2 years in college or whatever it takes to get the little teaching degree or whatever it is. Teacher unions, you're saving these people. You're saving these people. And we got to get rid of them. That's the first swamp we need to drain. You know,
Yeah.
the people that take care of our kids.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and it starts off by pushing these three people, pushing these candidates that are like this, so that they're in charge and we can breathe again.
well,
And just balance.
here's one thing I'll say, right? Because we talked about like all the candidates that we've talked to. It's like that was an open invite to any candidate. We didn't say if you're a Republican candidate. We didn't say if you're independent. We didn't say if you're a Democrat. We just said, hey, any candidate wants to come on, right?
Yeah.
It's funny how you don't get the other side, right? And they're not racist, but they can't come on Latino Free Mind.
Yeah.
Explain that.
They don't want to. They hate us because they
hate
ain't
us.
us. Oh man, I mean, we're nobodies, right? We're
Exactly.
just here trying to use this platform that's growing little by little. You know, 80 episodes ago we didn't have anybody. Right now we have 4 people watching us. Hell yeah, brother! Look at it, we're growing. You know, so it's all
Dude,
good. It's all good.
ever since that one episode we had like, what was it, like 6? It was close to 1,000. right?
Yeah, 600. I saw 600 in a
It
lifetime.
it was it was it was on the X account for the Latino Free Minds one. And ever since then, dude, I don't know why. Like, I can't stream there.
Mm.
Conspiracy, coincidence? I don't know, man. I don't know. Gotta call Elon. He's someone at X is trying to stop LFM.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, man. I mean, that was a good conversation. You know, they like I said, they seem like they want to restore balance, and you know, as a parent, what else could you want, right? Especially if you're sending your kid to a public school. So yeah, man, good people for sure. Cool. Well, you got anything else? Anything new? Anything?
Fuck you, Kamala, you bitch. CIA ringing up my phone telling me they want me and Daniel to go to do a little walk with Kamala. We said no. We said no. You know, they said The Rock is going to be there. I almost went. I said no. I don't care about The Rock. It hurt a little bit, but
No,
I'm kidding. Fuck
we
that.
didn't. No, we didn't say no. We were too expensive.
They're
They
too
couldn't pay us
expensive.
enough. Yeah, we wanted to double what Quavo and Megan got,
I was
and
asking for a badge. I went in my bag and I asked for a badge. I said, hey,
yeah,
you gotta
they
be
said no.
diligent CIA
So
operative. Or at least a damn OSHA fucking inspector to take care of these roofs. Never let another president get shot on my watch, not on my watch.
we told him to call. What's that guy? I don't think he took it either. But yeah, cool. Well, everybody that tuned in, commented. There was some weird people commenting too. But
Bots,
that comes.
Russians, loses,
Yeah, it comes with the
loses.
territory.
Keep commenting. Keep
Yeah.
commenting.
But yeah, well, peace be with you, and we'll catch you next time.